I think we may have just still been muted for a while, so I'm really sorry about that. Welcome to the June webinar.
Let's start over. Sorry, everyone.
Sorry, we have been talking for a few minutes.
Good morning. This is Morgan. I'm the admin for Assessment and Accountability. We have a few staff members here today that will need to cover their slides as they're stuck into other meetings. So if you have any questions, please still post them as usual, and we will get to them as soon as we can. A few housekeeping notes. Everyone joining today is muted, but if you have questions during the presentation, you can send the questions to the team through the questions pane. Simply type in your question and click send. If you need technical assistance, please send us a chat. Our team is monitoring and will do their best to help. We have posted our presentation as a document so you can download and follow along. Our presentation is also being recorded and will be posted on our website along with a transcript of the presentation. So to start, I have a few quick announcements. First of all, thank you for all of your hard work this year. We know this is an unprecedented year with challenges throughout, as we appreciate all of the work you did for Idaho students. Second, we're excited to announce that we have two new staff members joining us today, Maureen and Valerie. Maureen is to be our new ELA literacy coordinator, and she'll be working on the ISAT assessment and the IRI.
Hello, good morning.
And second is Valerie. She is our new state reporting and accountability coordinator. She'll be working on new data tools, analysis, and presentations to help everyone make use of the assessment data.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Next, the tentative assessment calendar for the next school year is posted. You can also access our new important dates chart. This document includes a running list of key dates during the school year, such as test windows, workshops, deadlines, webinars, and more. And both are accessible via our website or the hyperlinks on this page. I also wanted to give everyone a heads up about the funding worksheets. Each year, districts and charters receive special literacy distributions and ISAT remediation funds. Recipients must then report on the use of these funds. Superintendents, charter administrators, and business managers should be on the lookout for communication from Taylor in the coming days with the associated reporting worksheets for the use of last year's funds. And finally, we just want to hear some feedback. We have a survey posted to give us some feedback on our webinars and our newsletters. We are considering some changes for next year's communication. So if you would like to put in your input, please submit the survey by July 23rd.
All right. Hello, Idaho. My name is Paul Kleinert. I coordinate the National Assessment of Educational Progress, otherwise known as the Nation's Report Card. Another congratulations go out to Idaho schools that participated in the NAEP surveys this spring. We reached reporting requirements again and will soon receive monthly results as we have in the past. This information is invaluable for the 30,000-foot view of where Idaho and American students were in the last few months. There is one more submission. I know that many contracts have ended or are ending soon, so this final submission might be difficult. For those who work on these data and are in the building, please follow the normal route for submitting the data. This is easiest and will provide the best data. Now for the abnormal route. This will be a PDF file submission directly to me. On June 2nd, I sent out an email to school coordinators detailing the normal and abnormal PDF submission options. Attached to this email and linked within this email was a fillable PDF form that can be saved and sent back to me. Here's the important note. We have to be sensitive to rules regarding PII. Any email that is sent to me or any other member of the superintendent's office is considered public information. I cannot ask for or receive any information about groups of students less than or equal to 5. This includes when the rows or columns which lead to the discovery of 5 students or fewer. For example, you blur 4 students, but then in the same row you have 16 students in another category and a total of 20 students. My instructions for this rule in the email was just delete the whole row, column, or section if you can add or subtract to less than 5 students. If you are in doubt, just delete the data and submit it. If you have any questions, please feel free.
We do not have any NAEP questions for now.
Good morning, everyone. This is Ayaka, the Accountability Coordinator. I hope you guys are doing well. This slide was shared during the last webinar, but we are hosting SAT keep saying SAP. ISAT IDAA participation appeals on July 12th through 23rd. Schools are expected to meet the 95 participation rate in all subgroups across all subjects. Schools should submit an appeal for each student who did not participate in ISAT or IDAA due to documented or prolonged medical conditions, extenuating circumstances such as breaking both hands at the same time, and IC data errors. Please also submit an appeal for COVID-19 related non-participants to help us estimate the impact caused by COVID-19. COVID-19 related appeals will be approved if they meet the criteria outlined above, meaning documented and prolonged medical conditions, extenuating circumstances, and IC data errors. And we hosted a training regarding graduation rate on May 24th, 2021. Taylor transcribed the recording so quickly that the recording is not available on the preview application. Please review your cohort members and their graduation status as you submit your June IC file. Any questions?
We do have one, Ayaka. Can we submit one large file with the students whose parents opted out due to COVID?
We would need to think about that. The application doesn't work that way. You need to submit one for each child, but if those appeals are, if those appeals not fit in those conditions that we described earlier, then it may be easier for you to just send us a list of kids. So we'll think about it and then let you know once the appeals window opens.
Okay, thank you. That was the only question for now. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. This is Morgan again, covering for Andrew this time for the EL assessment. The Access individual student reports, student roster reports, and school and district frequency reports are now available in WIDA AMS under the Report Delivery tab. Individual student reports can be downloaded in over 40 languages through the WIDA AMS portal. Test coordinators should share these reports with parents and guardians in a language that is accessible to them. This will give parents an opportunity to interpret their own child's performance on the annual English proficiency assessment. Printed access reports will be delivered to district offices between June 17th and June 21st. It is best practice to add a copy of a child's individual student report to their cumulative file. This side outlines the established exit criteria an English learner must attain to exit a language instruction educational program in Idaho. Students who take Access will exit L services if they attained a composite overall English proficiency level of 4.2 or higher, and a proficiency level that is equal to or greater than 3.5 in reading, writing, and listening, and a 1.0 in speech. Students who met the IDAA participation criteria and who participated in alternate access will exit an LIEP once they attain an overall proficiency level of P2. Please note that ELMS is scheduled to automatically update a child's L status on July 1st. The Access appeals window is scheduled to open for 2 weeks starting on Friday, June 11th, and close on June 25th. The Access appeals process provides districts and schools an opportunity to adjust the Access participation rate for English learners based on specific appealable scenarios. More information on how to submit an appeal can be found in the 2021 Access Participation Rate Appeals web application user guide. The guide can be found within the Access Participation Appeals web application in IC. However, there is a direct link to the web application on the ELPA page. Please note that districts are advised to designate someone to review the information in the Access Participation Appeals web application during the window to ensure an accurate Access participation rate. WIDA AMS will update the WIDA Screener Administration year on June 25th. This means that all outstanding speaking and writing student responses will need to be scored and submitted prior to the yearly update. On June 25th, district administrators will see the Screener Idaho 2021-2022 option under the administration field and may begin to create screener sessions for the 2021-2022 school year. Permission sets for the new 2021-2022 WIDA Screener Online administration will be assigned to existing users who currently have access to the Screener administration. It's recommended that district test coordinators log into the WIDA Secure portal and WIDA AMS to verify that personnel listed in the district do in fact still require specific permission sets to perform their job duties. If staff no longer needs a specific permission to fulfill their role, delete the identified permissions. The Idaho SDE intends to use the new WIDA screener for kindergarten starting on August 1st. The new WIDA screener for kindergarten will replace the kindergarten WAPT and will be used to identify provisional Ls during the kindergarten and grade 1 first semester. The screen out criteria for each enrollment period has been solidified. The following screen out criteria will be used to identify newly enrolling potential Ls who take WIDA screener for kindergarten. For each of the enrollment periods, the child must attain a 5.0 or higher in oral proficiency and a 4.0 or above in each subdomain of speaking and listening. In the second semester of kindergarten and in addition to the oral proficiency threshold, a newly enrolling potential English learner will need to attain a composite literacy score of 2.0 or higher. For children enrolling in first semester grade 1, a literacy score of 4.0 or higher will need to be reached to screen out of the L support services. If you have any questions about the screen out criteria, please do not hesitate to contact Andrew Bennett, the state ELSA coordinator. In the fall, join our English language proficiency assessment coordinator, Andrew, for monthly webinars that focus on providing timely assessment information, updates, and resources that will help administrators successfully navigate the implementation of the various L proficiency assessments. Topics for each month will focus on upcoming district deliverables and necessary actions. The webinar will also allocate a dedicated period of time for participants to ask questions or clarify policy. These webinars will be great opportunities for districts, schools, and teachers to collaborate on specific challenges and make connections with other districts across the state. The following topics will be presented and discussed on the following dates. Please register for this webinar so that the appropriate materials can be sent ahead of time. Webinars and other trainings can be accessed via the ELPA webpage under the training tab within the webinar heading. WIDA is excited to present the 2021 WIDA e-conference on October 14th, so mark your calendars. This virtual one-day event features 20 live sessions with interactive breakout groups. Conference presenters include WIDA staff, educators, and experts from the field. Sessions align with the conference theme, Reimagining Opportunity and Access for Multilingual Learners, and are designed for educators of K-12 multilingual learners. If you're interested in attending, find out more info by following the link provided on the slide. And normally Andrew will be taking questions at this time, but as he's not here, we will route back through with you guys if you want to keep them in the notes in the comment section, and we will follow up. And we do have a follow-up question for accountability, Ayaka. A follow-up to that last question, could we just add all the EDU ID numbers in one incident?
Yeah, thank you for the question. If you are thinking about the instant log, that application accepts multiple EDU IDs. We are thinking about participation rate appeals application, and I don't think that application accepts multiple EDU IDs for one appeal. So we need to think about, and if you are still thinking about participation appeals and submitting COVID-19 related unknown participants, then we need to think about how we can get the document, not the document, I mean the list of EDU IDs from you. Hope that helps.
Thank you, Ayaka. And that is the last question for now.
Greetings from the alternate universe. I have one update to share with you today, although it's got two parts. It's related to the Idaho Alternate Assessment scores. As you may recall, this year's Idaho Alternate Assessment in Science was an independent field test, so no student scores will be reported. Student scores for the Idaho Alternate Assessment in the ELA and Math, on the other hand, have been a moving target this year. Get it? Moving target? Ha ha ha. So, as I explained in the February Special Ed Directors webinar, our original plan, and you can go ahead and advance the slide. Our original plan was to conduct standard setting for the new Idaho Alternate Assessments in ELA and Math during this summer of 2021. We had concerns about the validity of standard setting after the spring test administration, so the SDE submitted a waiver to the U.S. Department of Education to not report scores. However, The waiver was denied because IDEA requires that we provide scores for students with disabilities if we provide scores for all their other students. More specifically, we have to provide score reports on the Idaho alternate assessment for ELA and math because we'll report scores on the ISAT ELA and math assessments. So the $64,000 question became, what scores should we report? After much deliberation, we decided to report raw scores for the number of items a student answers correctly. We recognize that reporting raw scores can be problematic. Raw scores cannot be compared across students because the tests are computer adaptive and no two students will have seen the same test items. We are already crafting language to include on the score reports that explain the meaning of the raw scores to parents and teachers. Cambium Assessment, our test vendor, is in the process of designing these reports and they should become available by late August. Thanks for listening and breathing. As always, please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions, but I don't see any questions right now.
Nope, neither do I, Karen. Thank you.
So I have to go off the webinar because I've got another meeting. So if there are any other questions that come up in the questions box, I will work with Morgan and Taylor to get those questions answered and get the answers out to you. So thanks, everybody. Keep breathing.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Karen. All right. Hey, everyone. Kevin Chandler here at the department with a few updates for science. So remember that the school year 2021 science ISAT in grades 5, 8, and 11 were independent field tests, or IFTs. That means no overall scale scores or individual student reports will be available in reporting. And speaking of reporting, here are the unofficial state percent completion results for the science ISAT. Thank you for working so diligently to test all students, either in person or remotely. Now that the summative testing window has passed, let's take a look at the future. Remember that we do offer interims during a summer testing window, which is open now until July 28th. All resources for interims will still be available, including blueprints and answer keys. Keep in mind, though, that interim answer keys should be considered secure and treated as such. 2 more points about the science interims. Remember that they are administered in a standardized or a non-standardized manner. Both TDS and AVA will be available during the summer interim testing window. And we have also resurrected the remote interim testing site on the ISAT portal. That is a platform students can use to remotely access the interims. Speaking of the Idaho portal, there are updates on the way. Cambium Assessment is performing a significant cosmetic update to the Idaho portal. This update will carry over many of the functionalities already in place, but will streamline and modernize the look and feel of the Idaho portal. Here's a screenshot of the updated Idaho portal homepage and the science assessment page. The URL for the Idaho portal will remain the same. And right now, we are expecting to go live on June 26th. Other tasks that we completed in preparation for school year 21-22 is the TIDE rollover. The TIDE rollover includes the clearing out of all passwords for all users. Therefore, you will have to create a new password for school year 21-22. Additionally, all students will be cleared out of TIDE. Therefore, districts should plan to upload students in August 21 when TIDE becomes available. For school year 2021, TIDE availability is scheduled to close on July 28th. Additionally, I want to mention where the SDE is at in deciding on the availability of remote testing for school year 21-22. Basically, we have not rendered a decision yet. Now, to be clear, this side is only in reference to remote testing. That functionality is in place currently during the summer interim testing window. For school year 21-22, though, remote administration of the interims and the summatives is still to be determined. The SDE is gathering feedback on how to remotely administer those assessments for 2021. And we will be using that feedback along with other data to render a decision. Lastly, the SDE is still planning to administer an operational field test in the spring of 22 in grades 5, 8, and 11. Then, after our summer 22 standard setting, SDE will be able to provide individual student reports with scale scores. With those updates, are there any questions about the science ISAT?
There are. We continue to see a lag in reporting of results, longer than 10 working days. Do you have a reason for the lag and when we expect all ISAT by Smarter Balance ELA math results to be available?
Yep, so I'll be addressing that in the ELA and math sections, but I'll go ahead and field that question. Yes, a issue was discovered with a grade 5 ELA full ride rubric. That issue was corrected, and we have been working with our vendors closely in order to get all student papers scored by June 11th, which is Friday.
Thank you. That was the only science ISAT question for now.
Excellent, thank you. Excellent, so I'll throw it over to myself for the updates on the ISAT. To start, student performance data from the ELA and math ISATs are flowing into reporting. Typically, student performance data appears in reporting approximately 10 days after the student has submitted both the CAT and PT portions of their ISAT. Admittedly, there has been a delay with some grade 5 ELA scores appearing in reporting. The Idaho SDE has been in contact with our vendors about this scoring delay, and they have assured us that scoring teams are assiduously working on the scores of those grade 5 ELA full rides. Again, they think that they will have all of those papers scored by June 11th. As a reminder, ISRs will contain a student's overall scale score, but claim level performance data will only appear in reporting for rosters of students. Speaking of reporting, our testing vendor, Cambium Assessment, has created several PowerPoint modules that walk you through how to use the basic and advanced features of reporting. All of the training modules are helpful, but the how to drill down into your results by selecting previous school years and previous students PowerPoint is particularly helpful in that it shows you how to change reporting time period to see student performance data from previous school years. In addition to the PowerPoint training modules, there are other resources on the ISAT portal that will help you interpret the data presented in reporting. First up is the Reporting Claim/Target Symbols for Spring 21 Summative Tests Quick Guide. This handy-dandy resource models the meaning of the proficient and weak or strong symbols, and also gives a potential interpretation of what each combination of those symbols mean. And then there is the Reporting and Scoring FAQ for school year 2021. In addition to answering frequently asked questions about reporting and scoring, it also graphically illustrates the ELA and math scale score ranges and achievement level cut scores, which you see here. A lot of helpful information is in this resource, so be sure to check it out. Speaking of really cool graphs, here are two unofficial state percent completion reports for ELA and math in-person summative testing and for the ELA and math remote administration. As I mentioned during the science section, we recognize that this school year was unique and presented myriad challenges. Thank you all very much for your patience and persistence with overcoming those challenges and doing what is best for our students. So, with the summative test window for 2021 closed, let's look forward. First up, just like with science, the summer interim test window for ELA and math is open now until July 28th. Blueprints can be assessed from the ISAT portal, and interim assessment answer keys are available in Tide. Keep in mind that interim answer keys are secure materials and should be treated as such. TDS and AVA will be available during the summer interim window, and students can use the remote interim testing site to remotely access and take an interim. Also mentioned during the science section is that the Idaho portal will be updated soon. Again, the URL will remain the same, and the launch is expected on June 26th. Tide rollover for school year 21-22 is also on the horizon. Remember that passwords will be cleared out, so all users will have to create a new password for school year 21-22. As I mentioned before, students will be cleared out of Tide, so users should plan to upload students into Tide when it becomes available in August 21. Tide availability for school year 2021 will close on July 28th. And due to the fact that I have received several questions about remote administration of the ELA and math ISATs, I want to address those as well. Just like with science, the Idaho SDE is still in the process of deciding if remote administration of the interims and summatives will be available for school year 21-22. That decision-making process also goes for the use of the adjusted blueprints. Recall that in school year 21-21, all students were administered tests according to adjusted blueprints. As of today, the Idaho SDE is still considering whether to go back to a full blueprint for ELA and math summative ISAT. As soon as those decisions are rendered, we will let you know. With that, are there any ISAT questions?
We do have a few. First, longitudinal data is not displaying for ELA. When will that be available?
Excellent. Yes, thanks so much for that question. We have been working very intently with our testing vendor to get that error corrected. We spoke with them yesterday about it, and they have updated us on their progress of fixing it. They said a solution should be pushed this weekend, so therefore on Monday, the longitudinal reports for ELA should be available.
Thank you. Was the participation requirement waived for spring 21 ISAT?
The participation requirement was not waived for spring 21. As I mentioned before, I think as Whitman has mentioned before as well, we were planning to submit a waiver to USDOE to waive the punitive measures for participation rates less than 95%. Our current plan is still to submit that waiver, but we have not received final confirmation on whether that waiver was approved.
Thank you. Cambium mentions DOK reporting in one of the presentations. Idaho doesn't have this right now on the report. Will we in the future?
That is an excellent question. There are some features that Cambium offers that we have elected either not to, include in reporting. But if there is, interest from the field about that, we will certainly consider it.
Thank you. Are the cut scores for scale scores in the claims the same as the overall? Where do we find claim cut scores?
Yeah, so for overall scale scores, that applies to the entire test. But if you're in reporting and you click on the certain flyouts for the claims, you will see the overall scale score for that particular claim. That overall scale score only then thus applies to items that were aligned to that particular claim.
Thank you. When will dates be set for opening ISAT applications for next school year?
ISAT application?
That is what it says.
I'm not sure I understand the question. Please rephrase and enter into the chat box.
Okay, so next question while we wait. Will the authoring portal have a Cambium item bank next year?
That is a very loaded question. Was that Dave that put that in there?
That was Dave.
Yeah, I know, Dave. Excellent question, Dave. Thank you for asking it. Yes, we are in the process of working with Cambium to see what exactly will be offered in reporting. So stay tuned. We'll let you know.
Thank you. Next question. Did Cambium include any new tech enhanced type items this year in math?
Not that I'm aware of, not in math. Just to point out, though, I had several questions about the pencil icon for the science items. Keep in mind that the sample tests include all item types that the student would encounter on the ISAT. So make sure that students are experiencing those sample tests so that they know which item types they're going to get.
Thank you. And then a clarification of that other question. When will we have access to the ISAT applications like TIDE, AVA, etc.?
Oh, gotcha. Yes. Okay. So that currently the window for those Cambium assessment applications like TIDE, AVA, TDS, all that stuff is going to be closing on July 28th with the refresh coming in early August. Right now we don't have a specific date, but we will be sure to include that in the important date section of the Idaho portal when that comes online.
Thank you. There's one more. I've heard a rumor that ISAT ICA will be required in the fall. Can you provide any information?
That's just a rumor. Yeah, I have not heard that rumor either, and so I cannot confirm.
Okay. Thank you. That was the last ISAT question for now.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. And again, thanks for all you do for Idaho students. All right, I'll throw it over to Taylor for IRI.
Good morning, everyone. A huge thank you to everyone for working so hard on the spring administration of the ISIP assessment. I know it was less than easy this year, and I really appreciate the patience and hard work from everyone. We tend to get a lot of questions surrounding the rostering and archiving process during the summer months. We will be updating the TAM this summer, including updates to the rostering process within it. I suggest you take advantage of the iStation Interactive User Guide as you transition into the new school year. I have a link to some pertinent articles on this slide as we start preparing for the 2021-2022 school year. A few reminders. We've been talking about these enhancements for a few months now, but just to remind everyone before you go out for the summer, the WebAssembly, PowerPass, and new educator platform enhancements will be introduced in August. There's a training video for PowerPass in our Edmodo platform, and we will announce trainings or other resources for the other enhancements as we get them. In the meantime, I suggest utilizing the interactive user guide for resources regarding these enhancements. They have a lot of articles and explanations that will be really helpful as these updates are rolled out. And that is it for IRI. Are there any questions? And I don't see any questions, so thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. I'm back as the college entrance exam coordinator. Morgan helped me create a job form survey to evaluate our performance this year. Please tell us about your experiences working with me and College Board this year by completing an anonymous 5-minute survey by the 11th. We'd like to hear from you and reflect your feedback on contract negotiation and schedule development for the 2021-22 school year. And Morgan has told me that she's received over 130 surveys and really appreciate your participation. Do you have any questions?
There is a general question. I do not see engagement surveys listed on the draft assessment Windows calendar for school year 2022. Is this an error or will there be changes in this administration? Given that that is Kevin Whitman's domain, we will ask him for his meeting today and we will get back to you, Michael. And I don't see any other questions for anybody else. Our next webinar will be in August. We do not have specific links or dates set yet. We did want to get your input on what the best time and dates for that would be. But you can find links to review past webinars in the Assessment and Accountabilities Resource Center, and we will send out the registration dates when we get them. And any final questions before we wrap up? We will stay on the line a bit longer in case you do, and we will include the questions and answers with the video that we post. Watch for the video, a PDF of the PowerPoint, and the questions and answers later this week. We just need time to make the documents accessible. And I do see one. Will the PowerPass and new educator platform in iStation be available to all students, even those in districts that don't use iStation outside of administering the IRI? And the answer is yes. PowerPass and the new educator platform will be able to be used for everybody in the state, all the managers and administrators. All right, I don't see any other questions. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for all your hard work, patience, and understanding for us this year as we have navigated kind of a crazy year. Thank you.